Coming back to CryptoQ Media, my channel, I just wanted to drop a quick hello to everyone. There has been very little news coverage as of late. Yesterday, the Supreme Court rejected the SEC's arguments in two separate cases. You will like seeing the lawsuit that Coinbase filed against the SEC. Your old Gare Bear and Gary Gibbons aren't getting along. Maybe you had better days, back when you were younger. Today was just not your day. Another devastating decision by the Supreme Court has arrived at the SEC, which is already a very bad situation. I will transmit this viewpoint to you word for word because it has been articulated by multiple crypto-focused solicitors. Before we get into it, I want to emphasize that the asset referenced at the beginning of the video, XRP's victory in court last July, has helped to clarify the legal status of cryptocurrency in the US. Following that landmark decision, several justices on the bench recognized the massive SEC's abuse of power. The courts have ruled that the overreach was unlawful. They have been getting closer to it, case by case. Recent events, some of which have already occurred, have made it extremely difficult for the SEC to make additional false claims against any participant in the cryptocurrency ecosystem, including those associated with XRP. Recall that you would prefer not to address new, unfounded claims that may theoretically be made against any party involved, including Ripple, for whatever reason. Even though XRP's legality is settled, that is still an issue. There are, without a doubt, many justifications for bringing it. As the SEC, you are free to express yourself creatively. Even though you're capable of succeeding, the SEC is extremely unlikely to do so in light of their numerous terrible legal defeats, particularly recent events. There will be more crypto businesses in the US in the end because of this. We will analyze this, nevertheless. To start, let me clarify that I am not a financial advisor and that my knowledge of the subject is limited. Also, never ever buy or sell anything based on my recommendations. As a hobby, I enjoy dabbling in Bitcoin, and I'm just a casual YouTuber. Simply put, for your amusement, guy. In addition, you are under no obligation to stay if you are dissatisfied. Great, I'll help you prepare the table. This happened earlier this month, as you may recall. The source of this is Blockworks. SEC removed the Ethereum Studio consensus query from their radar. I will just lay the groundwork here because there are some conspiracy theorists in the world. This is ridiculous, let's stop it. No lizard people or shadows are deftly enacting a plot. These influential people are totally stupid. The truth is that they aren't smarter than you are, and the most of them are narcissists or sociopaths. You see them as dim-witted and innocent, and you're right, they aren't smart. Their predetermined behavior is driven solely by selfishness, plus anything that prevents a decline in self-esteem and safeguards their pride. Their behavior is indicative of such. They can't cast spells. Given that the SEC issued a Wells notice, it is safe to assume that the relevant document will serve as evidence of their impending lawsuit. Another change in political winds was the announcement that ETH might be considered a security on its own. We have been casually mentioning this. As we entered election season in May, things started to change politically. At least in words, the White House started to show some softness towards the Bitcoin community as its position on the matter shifted. Kim Jong-Gensler was likely informed that the spot ETF needed SEC approval once again, during election season. Plus, it's what they managed to achieve. They hesitantly accepted when the Wells notice was sent out. It was no longer feasible for the SEC to sue the SU consensus once the spot ETF was established for those specific reasons. Simply put, the date and notification of the inquiry's abandonment were made public because, well, it was a Wells. Please be informed that no formal complaint had been lodged at that time. Even though it was unexpected, it was inevitable. Additionally, they made it clear that Consensus was not absolved, even though they did publicly disclose it in the letter. On top of that, the charges were being dropped just in relation to this specific investigation. That in no way precludes the possibility of future charges. I also told you that ahead of time. Fred Rispoli, a lawyer and member of the XRP community, was the most vocal about it, and you have no clue about that. He was absolutely right, and I agree with him. The fact that some posts are more hostile than others does not rule out the possibility of other litigation. Yeah, that was right on the money. The consensus among the others was unanimous as well. On top of that, everyone agreed to sue the SEC right after getting the Wells notice. Despite the fact that this never materialized, the group's leaders openly declared their intention to continue suing the SEC even after the agency ceased its investigation. So, what happens now? We found out not long ago that Consensus is facing multiple lawsuits from the SEC. Then it becomes quite clear that they're feeling overwhelmingly flattered by the entire situation. Do you agree with Kim Jong-un that he will continue to fight cryptocurrency using every means available under the current regime? The ETF is obviously not going to get involved in this. These people are obviously highly bright, whether you believe the true narrative I just told you or not. These are not stuff that they wrote, despite how it sounds like they are a bunch of stupid, clumsy, bespectacled people. Everyone is here for their own special cause. They set out to be horrible people in the end. It is still unbroken here. There has been no news concerning reptiles. The outcome is this headline: all parties agree that MetaMasks, a brokerage staking service provider, is being sued by the SEC. First things first, the Supreme Court's decision, which is good news for cryptocurrency investors but bad news for the SEC. Look at this second. The parent company of MetaMask, Consensus, is the target of a Securities and Exchange Commission complaint. I don't see why this is happening since everyone already agreed on this. It needs restating. Different people do different things for different reasons. Gary only obeys orders when given, but that's all. In addition to that, he intends to continue mocking cryptocurrency because, well, he's a sociopath with an inflated ego who finds humiliation in defeat too painful to bear. And his losses have been piling up lately. Are you cognizant of this? But there is still peace. According to a complaint that was submitted on June 28, the company has been operating as an unregistered broker and selling securities through MetaMask swaps without registration since 2020. The lawsuit claims that Consensus made over $250 million in fees by offering staking services and brokering crypto asset transactions without proper registration, denying investors important safeguards. Given these alleged violations of federal securities laws, the SEC is seeking a permanent injunction against Consensus, civil penalties, and equitable remedies. If they were actually that coordinated, as some have said, then this whole thing wouldn't be taking place, my friends. The SEC proceeded to other items after making required concessions in response to demands from the administration. I must admit, I'm somewhat surprised. Degenerate gamblers double down when they're losing, said James Murphy, a metal law specialist and attorney. He brought up the fact that Consensus can be sued by the SEC today over MetaMask, staking, and swaps, and he included a link to this post as evidence of the current reality. We will go over the reasons why the SEC cannot classify these tokens as crypto assets, securities, or CHC Luna-matic over again, but the complaint follows the same line of reasoning as the Texas case Consensus against the SEC. From what I've gathered from talking to several solicitors, I think this is a good thing that has come out of the recent Supreme Court decision. What this means is that the SEC will no longer have the authority it professed to have, authority that it never really had. Nonetheless, you'll hear something similar. The fact that you've subscribed and taken the time to view my channel is greatly appreciated. We can meet up later.